Hey everybody, this is part one of a multi-part video series talking about giving and contributing toward CrossWalk. So there's your spoiler. And we want to be as painless as possible on this because we know that the culture at large really hates churches because they always ask for money. And yet we need money. So I want to make this painless and just talk about it and just have a frank conversation with you about why we give and what we give and what are we going to do with it and where's it going and all that stuff. But today's pretty lightweight. I'm guessing that if you're like me, you give to a range of good sources or good causes. My kids were band nerds in high school. They loved it. They gave so much time to it. We loved watching them do their thing. They were about as deeply involved as you could possibly get. And once a year or so would come a form for us to order C's candy. And it wasn't because they just thought, hey, everybody needs more C's candy, which we do. But actually, it was a fundraiser. And the idea was the more we bought, the more we got. And the Rodriguez Entertainment Unit, where my kids went to high school, benefited from it. And they raised thousands of dollars every year through this thing. So it was this great win, except for our waistline. But we kind of get over that. Anyway, I bet there are things like that you do, that you believe in the cause. Maybe it's even a lighter weight thing. Like, I never really think about Girl Scouts at all until that time of year comes when those fantastic boxes show up. And they've gotten creative about these. There are even QR codes around our neighborhood where you can just order from the QR code now, and you don't have to talk to any Girl Scouts whatsoever. You just shoot the QR code, and lo and behold, wonderful, delicious, overpriced, and not very many cookies show up at your doorstep at the appointed time. Why do we do that? Why do we buy overpriced cookies as delicious as they are? Well, because they're delicious cookies and it's a good cause, and so we go for it. And I'm guessing there's things like that that you've supported along the way too, and that's cool. There's certainly a place for that. There are other things in my life that I give toward, and it's more like a subscription type thing, you know? I'm not talking like YouTube TV or Apple TV or Hulu or anything like that. Those are ripoffs. Let's just be honest about that. We were getting ripped off. We thought we were cutting the cable and making a deal, you know, with all these third-party things, and now we're spending just as much, if not more, as we did before. But I'm digressing, so let me get back to the point. There are good causes that we give money toward. I really like what the Bible for Normal People do, Pete Enns and Jared, and what they're doing. And so they get $5 a month from me every month because I want to support their work. They're doing great research. They're creative. They're doing good in the world. And I want to be a part of the many thousands of people that support them. They just had this Bible project that they were trying to launch for kids. And I donated $100 for that because I was like, man, we really need a good children's Bible out there. And they're going to make an adult version too, which would be really, really helpful. And the Center for Action and Contemplation, which is Richard Rohr's thing that he got started many years ago. I've been supporting that for well over a decade because I've been reading his daily email devotional for probably 20 years or more. And I've been a beneficiary of that for so long. So they get $15 a month from me, and I don't even think about it. It's not really affecting my lifestyle in any way. Happy to do it. And I get the receipt every month, and I'm just like, oh yeah, cool. I'm glad they got it, and I am going to keep on reading this stuff, and I know that I could get it for free, but this is my way of supporting something that's added great value to my life. And I'm guessing there may be some organizations like that for you, where it's not a huge amount that you give, but it's not nothing, and I'm sure it's appreciated. And especially with these two organizations I just mentioned, you've got thousands and thousands and thousands of people who give that kind of level, and it really, really adds up. So that's a good thing. And there are also things that we give toward that require a different level of sacrifice on our part because we believe in them so much. And there are some of those things that I imagine maybe you have found yourself in too. And we're not talking about a $15 a month. We're talking about an amount that makes a difference in your life. Like if you didn't give that much money, you'd be driving a nicer car. You'd be taking a nicer vacation. you'd be eating out a lot more, that kind of a thing, where it is a very conscious decision to be generous, and you're happy to do it because of what the cause is. There's this parable that Jesus told. It was in the context of a guy asking him to divide up his brother's estate after his parents died or something like that. And basically it was a greedy question. And so Jesus wanted to deal with the greed behind the question that the guy was asking him. And the story he told was roughly this. In the comment section on this video, you can read the whole thing, and you can read all this that I'm saying basically, and it'll probably take less time. Anyway, too late now. You're already into this. So anyway, this story is about this rich farmer who's already wealthy, and he has this incredible harvest. It's a bumper crop kind of a season. And he fills his barn, and he's like, I can't hold all this grain. And so he decides, well, I know what I'll do. I'm going to tear down my barns. I'm going to build new ones to hold all my grain and sit back and take it easy for the rest of my life. I'm going to eat, drink, and be merry. I'm already wealthy, but now I'm super wealthy, and I'm just going to enjoy the rest of my life in luxury. And that very night that he makes this decision, he dies. And Jesus paints this scene of God coming down and says, well, what's going to happen to all your stuff now? And then Jesus ends and says, well, this is what happens, when you have somebody who is really self-centered and not very rich toward God, is what he gets at. And then he goes on, it sort of leads into this statement about not worrying about money and having balance in your life and this kind of a thing, and saying to people, where your treasure is, there your heart is, and all this. And there's a lot to be said. Now, you need to know, though, the context of this makes all the difference in how we understand the power of the story. Because in Jesus' day, 99.9% of the people lived in extreme poverty. I'm not talking about not being able to afford a Netflix subscription. I'm talking about not being able to afford to eat. That kind of level. Like, most of the people in his day were happy if they got one meal a day. That kind of stuff. And that was Jesus himself, right? He was not wealthy. We call him a carpenter. I mean, he was a day laborer, right? So he knew what it was to work his butt off. And some days there was no work. And he was the head of the family after his dad died. And so he's probably looking at his brothers and sisters and thinking, oh, I'm sorry, guys. This is all we can do. And they went hungry. We don't know how many times, but I'm sure it happened. So that's why he has a heart for the poor. And so what you need to know then is that this wealthy guy, and most of the people who had any wealth at all in Jesus' day and age, got that way by stepping on other people, by taking advantage of them in some way. And so this already wealthy guy had probably already become wealthy by ripping off the people that were his hired hands or whatnot, so he could pocket more and more and more and more. And then when he gets this bumper crop, instead of thinking, I have been blessed by God so much, I'm going to make the whole village happy. We're going to make sure everybody eats because they've probably missed lots of meals, and I'm just viewing this as abundance, and I want to make everybody's day. He didn't do that. Instead of doing that really obvious thing in light of all the need that was around him, he just decided to hoard it for himself. That's what makes his act so egregious. This isn't a guy who's trying to just, like an American sensitivities or sensibilities, where he's just thinking, I need to pad my 401k a little bit here because I want to be able to make it to the end of my life. I don't want to be a burden on people. I want to do the best I can to support myself. And there's going to be a day I can't work, and I want to make sure that I'm going to eat. We're not talking about building your 401k in a reasonable kind of a way, or just making sure that you're a good steward of your money. We're talking about greed here. We're talking about keeping it all to ourselves when we live in a world of need. That's the issue that Jesus is addressing. And that issue's still with us. And I really believe that we're not supposed to be guilted into giving to any charitable cause whatsoever. I think it's supposed to come out of gratitude, that we recognize how much we've been given, recognize the needs that are around us, and we decide to do something about it. And sometimes it's just that one-off thing, buying the box of cookies that we're going to call lunch that day. Or is it just me? Or it's the See's candy. It's the going to an auction to raise money for a thing, and you buy the pot or pan that you really don't need, but it's going to be somebody's Christmas gift. And you know that some cause is going to get a little bit more that day. That kind of stuff is good and it has its place. And the subscription idea kind of giving also makes sense. And there are many worthy causes out there, and maybe you're already doing that. And there are some causes that capture our hearts so much that we are willing to sacrifice, not out of guilt, not out of coercion, but because we love the cause so much. And we're grateful that we've found this thing and we want to do something to help it go forward. I want to let you know, and you need to know, and I'm not just a guy talking here begging for money, but I believe in CrossWalk. I've been there for 25 years. And from day one, Lynne and I decided we are going to support this thing generously, not as a subscription, not as a one-off donation here and there, but sacrificially. And there have been some lean times in our lives. You know, raising kids is expensive. They never tell you that in the operating manual. But man, it doesn't get any cheaper. And it just gets more and more expensive. And there were some lean years, especially when they were in high school. But we still did our best to keep our commitment to generously and sacrificially supporting this great place. And you know what that meant? I mean, we've lived a good life and we're grateful for it. But it meant that, you know, we had to really reconsider. Actually, we never even considered, you know, what kind of vacations we could have gone on or what kind of cars we could have had because that's just depressing and would be off point. But the reality is that if we'd already had all that money and then decided, okay, we're going to give sacrificially, it would have meant we're not going to take as nice a vacation or maybe not a vacation, or we're going to way scale back the kind of car that we're going to choose to drive, or we're going to way scale back the kind of meals or how many times we go out to eat, that kind of a thing. And we're so grateful that we can do this kind of thing. And I'm not saying this to say, hey, you know, pat me on the back or pat us on the back. I'm saying there are some things in your life, in our lives, that we look at and we're like, man, I have got to get behind this. And that's CrossWalk for us. By far, it gives the most of our charitable giving. There's not a close second to be found. And it's because I believe in who we are, that we offer a space, especially for people who have been rejected by other faith organizations and communities because of what they thought, what they believed, or who they are. And we're trying to create this safe space where we can come together, have big, beautiful thoughts about God and faith and what we can do together in the world to create equity and equality and belonging and inclusion, all these wonderful things. And we're doing it. I'm so proud of who CrossWalk has become and what we're known for as an organization that serves this community. And I am so excited about where we're going and where it's leading. The Spirit is our guide, and we are listening and following as best we can. But you got to admit, man, CrossWalk's a kick in the pants. You never know what's going to happen on a Sunday. We could be doing disco. We could be listening to an opera singer. We could be hearing about the number of immigrants that, you know, have gotten their documentation. Or, I mean, you just never know what's going to happen. And I think that is so cool. And that's one of the reasons why we're so excited about the future. I hope that CrossWalk somehow fits into that portfolio for you. And if you're new to CrossWalk and you just don't know, and all you can think about is, well, all right, we'll do the one-off kind of things, then thank you. Thank you for any support that you can give. And maybe you're looking at us and thinking, well, I don't know about generosity. I don't know about sacrifice, but I can see the value of CrossWalk. So we'll do a subscription thing. We can do that. Thank you, man. That helps. It's not like we have thousands of people, you know, we're not that big. And so everything helps, and we so appreciate that. Maybe some of you, you know, really have resonated with what CrossWalk is all about, like Lynne and I have. And we're like, hey, man, I want to get behind this thing, and never really thought about, you know, what generosity could do. And so you're at that place where, you know, and you're in capacity to do something like that. Thank you. That means so much. You know, just a little aside. I know I've never been long-winded before, but maybe today will be the first. Back when the tax code changed and the minimum tax was raised up to, $25,000 or something like that, which meant that most people were not going to itemize their deductions. Nonprofit people all over the nation said this is going to be a problem for nonprofit contributions because there was a lot of motivation for some to give because it was a tax write-off, and now it wouldn't be. They were right. Across the board for every nonprofit in America, they saw the numbers go down significantly just because of the tax code. And because of economic realities post-COVID, most organizations are recognizing that fewer people are carrying more of the weight in organizations. That's a dangerous, scary place to be. So when I say that your contributions as a one-off or kind of as a subscription thing or from sacrifice matters, it matters. And I thank you. And one last thing I want to say. We are all at different ages and stages in terms of our capacity to give financially. And there are some of you who may be watching this that you do not have the capacity to give financially. And I am telling you, I know that you give a damn, but I don't want you to give a dime. You need to eat. You need your medication. You need your rent. There are other people who are in a different age and stage who can pick up the slack and make it happen. Do not feel guilty. Do not feel shame. We covet and we need, and we're so grateful for your prayers, for your good word about us and the community, for your showing up in whatever way you can. Thank you for that. But seriously, I know you give a damn, but if you can't give a dime, don't. I mean it. No guilt, no shame. But for those of you who are able to, and you're in that space where you can do it, then I ask you to join me in taking a look at what you're given to and why you're given to it, and consider CrossWalk as part of that portfolio. And if you got any questions about who we are, where it's going, you're certainly welcome to ask that. We are very open at CrossWalk and want to continue that trend. All right, thanks for watching. There's more to come on this in the next couple weeks. Take care.